During Women's Month in South Africa, all people are encouraged to know their rights, and both victims and perpetrators of gender-based violence are urged to get help before it's too late. In South Africa, 3 women a day on average are killed by an intimate partner, and rape rates are amongst the highest in the world. Up to 40% of South African women have experienced sexual and/or physical interpersonal violence in their lifetime. But just how effective is new legislation in place to help protect women been so far? Siham Samai is the director of the Women's Legal Centre in Cape Town. She joins us now from our Sea Point studios. Good afternoon, Siham. Thank you for your time on the SABC News Desk.
Good afternoon.
Siham, we have some of the most progressive laws in place to protect women, but gender-based violence still so pervasive. It just looks like the impact and implementation is not there yet. Why is this?
Yes, I think you are correct that we have a world-class constitution. We've got transformative laws in terms of the Sexual Offences, Domestic Violence Act, and various other legislation which addresses gender-based violence and as well as gender inequalities. The challenge that we have is around implementation as well as monitoring and evaluating whether or not the state and the different state actors are actually facilitating or implementing their roles and obligations in terms of the legislation. And that is what the challenge is that majority of black women are still not seeing the benefits of this legislation because of the lack of implementation.
Siham, another point to highlight is that the violence inherited from apartheid, it still resonates so strongly in our society, which is dominated by these kind of patriarchal attitudes we see toward the role of women in society, which begins to make such violence almost an accepted social phenomenon. Just quickly speak to us about the different forms of violence against women and girls, and where is the actual failure or weakness in the response chain, if I could put it that way, to protect our women?
Well, there are a range of sexual violence against women, which is from rape, sexual harassment. You have different cultural practices also impacting on women and on young girls. But I think more challenging is the systemic challenges which is within the criminal justice system, which does not protect women from the secondary form of victimization when they do go and lay a charge in relation to any form of sexual-based violence. And that is also the challenge that we're sitting with, is that there's different levels of discrimination which women have to go through even when they just lay a charge of a rape or a sexual harassment, abuse, etc.
Siham, these figures could have moved, but in 2013-2014, there were about 66,000 sexual assaults reported in our country. Of these, only 6.5% were successfully prosecuted, and less than half of 1% of these perpetrators will serve any jail time at all. What are some of the barriers to successful prosecution, or is it the withdrawal of cases that needs closer examination, do you think?
Well, there's a range of factors. In relation to sexual offences, like I've said before, there's a lot of secondary victimization, whereas sexual victims of sexual violence have to, for example, have a specialist type of prosecutors, specialist type of magistrates. They need to be able to have a support systems within the court system. So what happens is that when most of these women are within a court system, they don't address those issues around secondary victimization. It is a challenge, and those are all barriers or cause that women withdraw the cases. So we need, for example, prosecutors, magistrates, court support staff that are sensitive to the issues relating to sexual violence victims. And those are all barriers that cause that matters are being withdrawn. But more importantly, people need to understand what the roles and responsibilities of the various actors within the civil justice system are. and what are the support services that are being given by health, Department of Social Development, the National Prosecuting Authority, SABC, etc. Because it all fits into a puzzle. And the problem is that if they are not doing their work, these are all barriers that are causing that women are withdrawing their cases.
Siam, you've actually preempted my next question. In your experience, how challenging is this lack of coordination or cohesion between the three main response units like the SAPS, social services and pathology services in securing convictions at this point?
Well, core too. I mean, if you look at the new or the Department of Justice's new sexual offences courts, which they want to roll out, I mean, the most important thing is to ensure that all of these role players within the system work with each other. If you do not have a prosecutor that is sensitive to the needs of the victim, if you don't have the proper support systems to help the woman psychologically, emotionally through the court system, and if there's no support even after the matter has been heard, it can be a challenge, because these are all contributing factors to this, what they call the secondary victimization of victims of violence.
Siam, for viewers out there who might need you, who want to access the services you offer, how do they reach you?
Well, the Women Legal Centre, the Women Legal Centre is based in Cape Town, but we operate nationally. So they can find our details on our website. We've got a Facebook page, and we also have a branch office in Johannesburg where they will be able to attend. We also have a satellite office in Khayelitsha, and we also work with various NGOs that do have our details if persons require assistance.
Siam Samai, Director of the Women's Legal Centre based in Cape Town, thank you so much for your time on the SABC News Desk. Moving on to some other news now.